You know, when you're making something that needs to be totally, completely pure, like a life-saving medicine, you just can't have anything foreign getting in. Not a single speck of dust, not one microbe. And to pull that off, you need a very special kind of environment. More than that, you need to prove, with a boatload of evidence, that it works exactly as it should. Well, that whole process is called facility qualification. And today, we're going to walk through that journey, step by step.
Okay, so at the very heart of all of this is one thing, the clean room. But what really makes a room a clean room? Well, it's all about controlling the things you can't even see.
The official definition really tells the whole story. It's a space where the number of particles floating around in the air is strictly, and I mean strictly, controlled. The entire goal is to design and run it in a way that stops particles from coming in, stops them from being created inside, and gets rid of any that do show up. It's basically a fortress against contamination.
To really get your head around the scale we're talking about, just look at this. On the left, that's a single human hair, right? It's about 100 microns thick. Now look to the right. That tiny little dot, that's the kind of particle we need to control, just half a micron. That is 200 times smaller. We are operating in a totally different world of clean here.
And this level of clean isn't just a vague idea. It's measured with incredible precision. Rooms are graded from the ultra-clean grade A all the way to grade D. But here's the fascinating part. Look at those two columns, at rest versus in operation. For a grade B room, the limit is about 3,500 particles when it's empty. But the second people walk in and start working, that number jumps to over 350,000. That's a 100-fold increase. And why? Well, because we, people, are the biggest source of contamination in the room. You shed millions of skin particles every single day. That's what these incredible systems are really designed to handle.
All right, so here's our game plan. We've just covered what a clean room is. Next up, we'll dive into the qualification journey itself. We'll break down the design and build phase, then the empty room test, the real-world test with people, and finally, how you keep that standard going. To help us navigate this whole process, we're going to use a framework that's basically the gold standard in the industry. It's called the V model. Just think of it as our map, taking us from a simple idea all the way to a fully proven, working facility.
And the V model is just a brilliant way to visualize this. See, on the left side, you're designing your way down. You start at the top with what the user needs, you write up all your specifications, and you end up at the bottom with the actual physical build. Then, on the right side, you test your way back up, proving at every single step that what you built actually meets the design you plan.
All right, let's get into it. We're starting at the top left of that V model, making our way down from the initial concept to the final construction. This is where you lay the entire foundation for success. Get this part wrong, and you're in for a world of hurt. First up is design qualification, or DQ. Honestly, you can just think of this as the think before you build phase. Before a single rinse is turned, you have to create documented proof that your plan, your blueprints, your specs, is actually going to work for its intended purpose. It's all on paper, but it's absolutely crucial. And the level of detail here is just immense. You're documenting everything. How are people and materials going to move around without contaminating each other? What are the walls and floors made of to make sure they don't create their own dust? And, of course, the big one. How is the air system going to create the right pressure and airflow to constantly sweep particles away? So, once that design is locked in and the facility is actually built, we move to the next step, installation qualification, or IQ. This is the prove you built what you said you would phase. It's all about checking that what was physically installed is a perfect match to the design you got approved. You can literally picture it just like this. People walking around with the blueprints in one hand and a checklist in the other. They are meticulously confirming that every single component, from the grade of steel used for a pipe to the model number on an air filter, is exactly what was specified back in the DQ. No exceptions. And its checking process covers everything. Are the doors wired up right to prevent both from being opened at the same time? Do the final as-built drawings actually reflect what's there? And maybe most important of all, have the HEPA filters, which are like the lungs of the clean room, been leak tested to make sure there are zero tiny holes?
Okay, so the facility is built. It's built exactly according to the plans. Everything is in its right place. But here's the million-dollar question. Does it actually work?
And that question brings us to the first big stage of testing. We're now starting our climb up the right side of the V model. This is called operational qualification, or OQ. And it's where we test the facility all by itself, in its empty, at-rest state.
But hold on, you can't just jump into it. there's a strict checklist you have to complete first. The IQ has to be signed, sealed, and delivered. The HVAC system has to be fully up and running. The whole place needs to be cleaned, and your operating procedures, your rule book, have to be drafted. You have to check all those boxes before you can start.
So the whole point of OQ is to prove that the facility's systems perform the way they were designed to, but, and this is the key, with nobody inside. There's no manufacturing, no people. We are just testing the machine itself to see if it can create and hold that perfectly clean environment.
And this is exactly what it looks like. A pristine, empty room. During OQ, technicians are in there running all sorts of tests. They're confirming air change rates, verifying the pressure differences between rooms are holding steady, and of course, measuring airborne particles to prove the room meets its at-rest classification.
So we've proven the empty room works like a charm. But now it's time for the ultimate challenge. This is Performance Qualification, or PQ. It's the real-world test where we see if the facility can hold up under actual in-operation conditions.
And again, you can't start without passing through some gates. OQ has to be complete, obviously. But look at what's new and critical here. Training of all staff must be complete. Think about it. You're about to introduce the single biggest source of contamination, people, into your perfectly controlled environment. They have to be ready.
PQ really is the final exam. This is the documented proof that everything, the facility, the equipment, and the fully trained people can all work together to consistently and repeatedly maintain that clean environment while actual work is being done.
Yep, this is the manned test. We bring in the operators, all gowned up, and have them do their jobs. And for several days, across all the different shifts, we are monitoring everything. We're still counting non-living particles, but now we're also hunting for living ones. Bacteria, mold, we're swabbing surfaces, sampling the air, and even testing the operator's gloves to prove that even with all that human activity, the room stays clean.
So after all that designing, building, testing, and mountains of paperwork, the facility is finally qualified. You'd think the job is over, right? Well, it's not. In fact, in a way, it's just beginning. Now the real work starts, maintaining that state of control for the entire life of the facility.
And that brings us to the most important takeaway of all. That enormous effort of qualification, it's not the finish line. It's the starting block. It's the documented proof that your facility is capable, and it sets the stage for a lifetime of reliable, safe operation. It is the very foundation that product quality and patient safety are built on, day after day.